Hello all. So in the last session we have started unit 5 wherein I have given you the introduction about what is unsupervised machine learning algorithms, and then we have seen one type of unsupervised machine learning algorithm, which is clustering. In the last session we have also seen different types of clustering algorithms, right? So today in this session I would like to talk about one important clustering algorithm, which is k-means clustering algorithms. Okay, so when we have discussed about cluster analysis, okay, basically in unsupervised machine learning, cluster analysis is nothing but dividing the entire data into group of data, which is called as clusters. Okay, cluster analysis groups these unlabeled data into some meaningful output data. As you can clearly see in the picture, I am dividing the unstructured clustered data into clustered data. That is, when I talk about clustered data, it has some meaningful output, that is the color representations are clearly given. Okay, so clustering is basically an unsupervised machine learning technique designed to group unlabeled examples on their similarity to each other to convert them into some meaningful groups, which are called as clusters. Okay, so there are many different ways to perform cluster analysis, but most of the common method is used to use a model that actually groups the data based on similarity. Okay, so there are different clustering algorithms, and these clustering algorithms are nothing but procedures which are used for partitioning the data into groups called as clusters, such that these each clusters have distinct, and each member of the clusters belong to one group depending upon some features. Okay, now when I talk about the first algorithm, which is k-means clustering. Okay, so k-means clustering is nothing but an unsupervised machine learning algorithm used for data clustering, which is actually used for grouping the unlabeled data into some groups which are called as clusters. Okay, k-means is one of the most important and widely used clustering algorithms in unsupervised learning. Okay, the main aim of the k-mean is to partition the entire data set into k clusters. Okay, where each data belongs to the cluster with the nearest mean. Okay, so please understand that when I am trying to divide the entire data set into k clusters, each data point belong to one cluster with the nearest mean. Okay, so first I calculate the mean, and the data point belongs to that cluster which has the nearest mean, which is nothing but the centroid. Okay, so the goal of k-means is actually to minimize the variance within the each cluster. Okay, so when I talk about variance, okay, when I talk about what is variance, variance is nothing but in statistics. When I talk about variance in statistics, variance is a measurement of how far each number in the data set is from the mean, right? So here the main goal of k-mean is to minimize the variance within each cluster such that all the data points of similarity belongs to each cluster. Okay, now, how does the k-mean algorithm work? Okay, so we divide the entire functionality of k-mean into these 7 steps. First step is select the number k to decide the number of clusters. If suppose I have 100 samples in the given data set, you have to decide into how many clusters you want to divide these 100 samples into. That is the value of k. Okay, so select the number of k to decide the number of clusters. After that, in step 2, select random k points or centroids. Okay, it is very important for us to identify the centroids. So we do that in step 2. Okay, and in step 3, we assign each data point to the closest centroid. Okay, so which will form the predefined k clusters. Okay, after that we calculate the variance and place a new centroid of each cluster. Once I am done with placing, I'll repeat step 3, that is identifying the close centroid for the another data point, which means reassigning each data point to the newest centroid. Basically it is only 3 steps. First, identify the number of k, select random k points or centroids, assign each data point to the closest centroid by performing the or by calculating the variance, and place the new centroid of the each cluster. So I'll repeat step 3 and reassign each data point to the newest cluster, and if any reassignment occurs, then I'll go to step 4, else I'll go directly to finish and say my model is ready. Okay, so let us understand all these 7 steps clearly by taking an example. Okay, now suppose we have two variables m1 and m2. Okay, now you can see a x axis and y axis scatter plot of these two variables m1 and m2. Okay, now in the first step you have to choose the number of clusters k. Okay, now I have only two variables m1 and m2. Hence, let's take number of clusters k is equal to 2. Okay. Now, this will identify the data set to put them into different clusters. All these data points will be put into either k1 cluster or k2 cluster, which means here we'll try to group these data into these two different clusters. Okay. Now, we need to choose some random k points or centroid to form the cluster. Okay, so these points can be either the points from the data set or any other point. Okay, so here we are selecting the below 2 points as k points. This is one k point, this is other k point, okay, which are not part of our data set. See, the green ones are the data. Okay, so I am taking two new points which are not a part from the data set. You can take within the data set or away from the data set. Here in this case, I have considered two new data points which are apart from our data set. Okay, now this is step 1, that is the entire data. I have taken k is equal to 2. Now I have randomly chosen two k points or centroids to form the cluster. Okay, so once I am done with this, we will assign each data point of the scatter to its closest k point or the centroid. Okay, we will compute it by applying some mathematics that we studied to calculate the distance between 2 points, Euclidean distance or whatever it is. So we will draw a median between both the centroids. As you can see, I am identifying each data point. I am assigning each data point to the scatter plot to its closest k point or centroid. Okay, so once I am done with this, now from the above image, okay, as you can see from the above image, it is very clear that, so this is one group and so this is one group and that is the other group which is forming. Okay, so I am trying to draw a median between both the centroids. This is a median that I have drawn between both the centroids, and once I am done with this, okay, now it is very clear that the points left side of the line, okay, left side of the line is near to the k1 or the blue centroid, and the points on the right side of the line are close to the yellow centroid. Let's color them as blue and yellow for each clear visualization. Okay, yellow or orange, whatever you call it is. Okay, now once I am done with this, we need to find the closest cluster. So we will repeat the process by choosing a new centroid. So earlier my centroids were this. Now I will repeat this process by choosing the new centroids. Okay, so to choose the new centroids, we will compute the center of gravity for these centroids and we will define the new centroids. So randomly I have taken the new centroids here. Okay, after we choose that, we will reassign each data point to the new centroid. For this we will repeat the same process, that is finding the median line. Okay, so here this is the median line. Okay, now from this particular image, we can clearly see that one yellow data point is on the left hand side of the line. Okay, and there are two blue points on the right side of the figure. Okay, so these 3 points, what 3 points? This orange in the blue line, these blue in the orange or yellow line. Okay, so these 3 points will be assigned to the new centroids. Okay, let's see how do we do that. So as reassignment has taken place, we will again go to step 4, which is finding new centroid or k points. Now again I'll go for new centroid or k points and I'll repeat the process by finding the center of gravity of the centroids so that the new centroids will be shown as in the given image. Okay, once I am done with that, as we have got new centroids, we'll again try to draw the median line and reassign the data points such that I'll again make the difference. Okay, now as you can see in this particular image, there are no dissimilar data points. All blue belongs to this particular centroid, all yellow or orange belongs to this particular centroid. Okay, on either side of the lines, I have no dissimilar data points, which means that my model is now finally formed. Okay, now so once I am done with this, I'll group this into one cluster, this into one cluster. As our model is ready, we can now remove the assumed centroids and then finally calculate 2 clusters. So these are the centroids that I've assumed. Okay, now I'll remove them and form the 2 clusters. Okay, so this is how your k-means algorithm actually works. Okay, let me quickly recap the steps. Okay, first is you have to select the number of k to decide the number of clusters you want to do. Second is select random points, random k points or centroid within the data set, or you can choose new data points. Assign each data point to the closest centroid which will form the predefined k clusters. Calculate the variance and place a new centroid to each cluster, and repeat the steps, which means reassign the data. If you have any reassignment occur, go to step 4, repeat the process and then finish, so that the model would be ready. Okay, so this is how your k-means clustering algorithm works. When I talk about limitations, any algorithm has its own limitations. So when I talk about limitations of k-means is very simple and effective, but it has several limitations. Let's see one of them, each one of them. First is predefined k. Okay, so in the step 1 itself we have to define the value of k. Okay, so the number of clusters should be specified beforehand. If you don't know the number of clusters in advance, it will be a challenge. Okay, and then sensitivity to initial centroids, we are assigning the centroids multiple times, so k-means would be sensitive to the initial placement of centroids. Okay, if the initial centroids are poorly chosen, then the algorithm would be giving poor results. Okay, and then k-means is sensitive to outliers, since they can significantly influence the centroid position. And convergence to local minima, k-means can converge to local minima, meaning that it might not find the best possible cluster configuration at once the algorithm is designed. Okay, so you have to run the algorithm multiple times with different initializations, different centroid locations, and then try to find good results. Okay, this is all about limitations of k-means. Now how do we overcome these limitations is the next question. Okay, so we have different methods, like we have one method called elbow method, which will actually determine the optimal k. Okay, by looking for a knee or elbow in the inertia plot. Okay, and then we have k-means plus plus, a smarter initialization technique similar to k-means. We have another algorithm, and apart from this k-means clustering, we also have other algorithms like db scan, hierarchical clustering, alternative clustering algorithms can also be used to overcome the disadvantages of k-means clustering algorithm. Okay, so this is all about the first unsupervised machine learning algorithms, which is clustering algorithm. Okay, under unsupervised, under clustering category, we have this k-means clustering algorithm. Thank you.